Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 87, and we are going to go straight in to where Erica was rudely suspended at the end of the last episode. The difference between being able to be a good conversationalist, which I think we'll probably all agree is a skill and depends massively on our communication skills, our ability to listen, probably our desire to listen as well, as opposed to, because we brought up earlier in a couple of places, misanthropy or misanthropy, depending on how you want to say it, this gregariousness, this willingness that we know Brett and Gabby in particular have to connect to people. I felt some sadness at Gabby's unfinished 50 stories. I would like for her to have space, not necessarily in this episode, it could be a monologue, but to finish her 50 stories. So what are the differences? How are we conversational well, and what are the differences between that and maybe coaching conversations? Let's see where we go.
Okay, I'm going to say I felt the same twinge of sadness mixed in with, no, that's total bullshit. Like, I feel complete injustice towards you that you were not allowed to just finish your fucking stories. Like, why? And whatever you went through in your process to come to a place of acceptance of that being okay. Like, I'm over here saying, no, that's not okay for you, Gabby. It's not. It's not okay. You have a right to have your goddamn stories be finished. And why not? Right? So I think being a good conversationalist and being a good listener are different. However, they bridge the gap into being one and the same, right? Like, I think your conversational abilities are just heightened by how well you can actually listen. You can't do one without the other. However, listening deeply, like I was saying last time, takes a lot of work. There is a lot of work that goes on to be able to tone that skill into a way that the person who you're listening to actually feels it. It's not just done like, yeah, I'm just going to sit here and listen to what you have to say. You're engaged in what they're saying. In all your senses are engaged. It's not just the ears. It's you're watching, you're smelling, whatever, if there's something to be smelled, but you're seeing, you're emotionally opened up to feeling what might be, like I said earlier, being said without the words behind it.
I think for me, the reason why I'm okay with it and serene about it and acceptant and the whole thing, it's just the awareness that I'm very, very aware these days of communication skills, of conversational skills, because I started it and I'm teaching it. And the other people are not. I mean, we using conversations every single day. We communicate 24/7. If we don't talk to other people, we have our self-talk. Our brain is talking to ourselves. If we sleep, we dream. Even so, if we don't remember the dreams, our brain is still talking to us. We just don't remember the dreams. So we're never quiet. We're in communication 24/7. And the one skill we never learn anywhere are communication skills. I mean, the only communication skills I've ever went to before I came to ecology was when I was a manager, and it was marketing related. So it wasn't communication skills. It was the subject pretty much was to make it clear, how can I talk to a client to convince them to buy something they don't need? Right? That's usually what happens when we talk communication skills. Proper communication skills are never taught anywhere, and they should be taught in school, because our relationships would be better. We probably wouldn't have as much divorce. We wouldn't have less conflict. Imagine if people with opposite opinions would listen to each other. What would happen? Right? So communication skills are never taught, and that's something. People aren't even aware they're doing what they're doing. When I'm getting interrupted and I can't finish the story, they're not even aware of it.
I think there's a really important part in what you just said. There's many important parts, but where people are taught to speak around others, it normally comes with some kind of manipulation. It's either sales or it's some sort of junior leadership course. So, it's motivational, and it's all about using your language, your power of speech, to alter somebody else's either thoughts or actions or beliefs up until a point where we get into the listening and the hearing, and we actually develop interest in what other people are saying, just for its own inherent value.
Yeah, listen to understand. It's what Kane says, right? Kane Ramsey in his communication course. Listen to understand. We don't learn that ever. We never. Listen to, no, not even listen. Speak to motivate. Speak to manipulate. How can I speak better so people do what I want? It's about speaking. No, they have lip service to listening, mostly in the course, but you have to listen, find out what the client needs, and then next step, find the right language to then make sure they buy that from you and they think you know what they, or you know you have the stuff they need, So again, it goes straight away again into manipulating.
And actually, when you think about some of the ways we first communicate, it's through crying as an infant. And I'm sure you have all heard, or you've recognized it yourself, as like, that's not a hungry cry, or that's a hurt cry, or whatever. Even children in a park, you can tell if one's having a grisly moment because they're not getting their own way, or you can tell as a parent if a child really needs help. So on some really fundamental level, sort of pre-language, spoken language level, we do understand really fine nuance. I wonder how we get that back, or how we hone that.
I don't have any answers to that. Sorry, Gabby, go ahead.
Yeah, it's tone of voice, what you really mentioned here, and I think we're all good in picking it up. Again, we're not really self-aware how we use it. We're good in picking it up in other people. We all heard the sentence from our parents, I don't like your tone of voice. And it's the way we say it, right? We're all aware of it because we're picking it up from other people who I don't like the way they said that, or that sounded very sarcastic. The point is, we're never aware of how we speak. Was I just sarcastic? Right? Did I use my tone of voice in a certain way? Ooh, they're getting rattled with me. Maybe it was my tone of voice, how I said it. But then we don't think that it may was us. It's like, they probably don't like me. You know what I mean?
I'm over here in my own little, oh boy, I got a whole lot going on in my head here where I just thought, where am I on that grid? If somebody, they don't like me, I'm more in the apathetic. I don't care. Can't change it. Don't care to change it. But what I was going to say earlier was more to the difference between conversational, like, and listening, right? And again, like running myself through this, like, why am I not eager, like you and Brett, Gabby and Brett are eager to like engage constantly. It's like a constant thing that I'm actually in awe of. And Alec probably can, agree to some extent that it's like, how are you even wanting to do this? Like, I just don't understand it. But I'm realizing that, like what I said, I'm evaluating the level of effort that is going to be required of me because I'm going to be listening in a different way. And Alternatively, I might not engage because inherently, or from learned experience, and because we know not everybody is equipped to hold conversation in this way where they're listening, I know I'm not going to be listened to. And I'm not into it. It's like something that I just don't want to experience, not being listened to, if I'm willing to open up and engage in conversation, right? So this then further, there's different levels of conversation. Like you can have that small talk, hey, how are you? Kind of just get to know someone, or go deeper. So conversation is its own animal in itself, right? Like there's different levels of it, and how willing are you to make connections with people just for the sake of making connections, where the conversation doesn't have to really be quote unquote meaningful. It's just a segue into connecting with another person.
What would happen if school brought communication and listening into their lessons? Right? What if that was a way somehow, right, of connecting with the student? Be like, all right, guys, this is what we're going over today, and we're going to practice our listening. So if you're listening, you're going to have key questions out of curiosity. I want to hear your curiosity, and you're supposed to erupt that stuff in students. But what if you had the conversation with them in understanding of what you're trying to do with the student, right? So when they're not there, they can be accountable and say, you know what, my thought was somewhere else. You know what I mean? And just being accountable for it, so they're aware as to what's going on. That's the beginning stage. And if we did it in school at that younger age, when they graduate and they finish school, they will be better listeners. They will retain and take things in more. Like there's a whole skill there that, well, I don't want the lesson. Well, the lesson's about listening. We're going to test your listening skills here. That's all that this is really about. You hate science? Well, what if we practiced your listening skills and offer that as you're giving the science class or whatever class, and mix it in with what you're doing so that they can retain it in a different way, or see with the listening how powerful listening is. And maybe they don't do it. Maybe they're turned off. Maybe they're looking for the phone. Maybe they're looking for, but then being accountable when you pick on them and say something, being like, you know what, my head was thinking about X, Y, Z. Okay. Was anybody else in that place? All right. Well, who can tell me where we were? And then bring them and redirect them back into where we were, and make it okay for them to be in that other place, but redirect them back in, and then grab the ones that were on point to bring them and catch them back up. Like there's the school system. I've been saying it. I feel like it's broke, right? And there's so many different ways of being able to offer the youth another way, and having them when they graduate being good at listening and hearing and putting things together. Or I don't know. I don't know the answers, but I feel like there's something there in the whole communication skills, which Gabby, you already are teaching it, but picture teaching that with teaching something else and integrating the two, right? That's like because then the ones that are with you can redirect the other ones, but it's accountability. You're wrapping it all into one little gift. You know what I mean? That's the class, is the gift. And then they start gaining all of that, and then they come out of it like with the win. And if it's not for them, then it just wasn't their time. But it will be their time because they sat in your class and they learned about listening. So when it comes for them, that's when that comes back up for them, and they remember the class, and they remember, all that stuff comes flooding back, and now they're open to it. Not everybody's going to be open, and that's school and class in itself, but mixing it all in, is, I don't know.
I mean, it's a brilliant idea. The problem is, again, because I taught communication skills in school to the students, and I spoke to some of the teachers in 2 different countries saying, did you do communication while being in teacher training? And I said, well, we learned how to create a lesson plan, all that, but no. I mean, imagine their job is speaking all day and they never had one communication class in their life. And that's their job. And it was interesting because when I did that with the kids, we did the first session we did was on body language. And 2 of the girls came back and said, well, we were just messing in, and it was very clear we were just messing. The teacher could not read our body language, came over, said something, and we looked at them, could not read our body language. And the kids suddenly became aware of where the lack was. Teachers haven't learned it. So how can they then teach it? And it makes complete sense. It would, if you're good in communicating, you don't really need communication classes as much because you can role model it within lessons in school, at home as parents, as a manager in a job. It doesn't matter where it is. You can role model it and everybody learns, because what we're role modeling at the moment everywhere is how not to do it. We are role modeling not listening. We're role modeling interrupting. You know what I mean? We're role modeling everything which isn't good because nobody's aware of it. So if we would all role model the way how to do it, I wouldn't need to be in this job. No need for it.
I think there's a big part there of the parenting. You know, it used to be that children would go to school and they would have basic ideas of alphabet and shapes and colours and those sorts of things because parents had engaged, and you learned skills about how to interact. And, you know, we're playing with this game, we're playing with blocks and colours and shapes, but so much of that is lacking in preschool relationships these days. Loads of parenting by device. Just sit the young one in front of a TV or an iPad or whatever. They're still absorbing, you know, they're taking in tons of information, but what level of control or oversight do the parents have of that? Is it appropriate sort of stuff? And we then end up with where do you put this interrupt? Because yes, teacher training sounds like a great place, but they perhaps haven't learned it. You know, the kids that Brett was with were young adults. They're not really kids at all. So ideally, we're catching that preschool, but we're so disconnected from generations that had time, and this is stuff we've talked about before. 2 parents working, you know, are the childminders engaging with the children in the ways that are going to develop communication and later education? So it's just a big old mess dumped on the table. Where do we start to put this stuff in? You know, that old meme about you're the generation that stops all of that old thinking and all of those old programs reaching the new ones. Where do we become the shield? Where do we actually start doing the things we've just talked about in terms of modelling and education and communication?
I think we're starting it. Right? We're starting it in just our conversations and just questioning and looking to grow and looking to offer out different concepts, different ideas, different, right? And like we've done in the past, always look to your comments to see what people think and want to hear and want the engagement, because that's what this is here. This is engagement. We're modeling engagement, right? And we're modeling, you know, mind-provoking thought patterns and bringing ourselves into this and sharing, you know, how we go through things and what we do. right? That there's something in just what we do here that is a big piece. So I know we got millions of listeners, right? Just they don't want to comment and they don't want to hit subscribe, I guess.
Which brings us to the point. Talk to us
Yeah,
in the comments.
there you go. I used to say that all the time. I'm like, come on, talk to us. Where are you? It's great.
That's why I had to interrupt you there, you see.
Yeah, it was a thought and it just came there and it needed to be put in. But there's another truth in that, which is about the algorithms, the dark beasts of the algorithms. We know that they exist, obviously, and we understand on a, let's assume that there isn't some dark control of it. But if we're not saying the right things, we're not being found by people. If we don't, link keywords to stuff, no one's going to find our wisdom. So we're being constrained in our communication, our ability to get our messages. And obviously we hope that there are value in these 87 odd conversations that we've recorded for you. But even within this, we're at the mercy of other things as to whether people hear it, whether they engage with it, whether it even makes sense to them. I mean, I've been aware for the last 20 minutes that Gabby wants to sort her lighting out, but I've just left her getting progressively darker there. And I could have at any time said, Gabby, why don't you put a light on?
I was thinking to run in there because I'm getting darker. And I said, we're having a conversation about listening and being present. I cannot switch my camera off to go and switch the lights on. I mean, how would that look like?
That's nonverbal communication at its best. I'm really listening to you. Click. No. What?
I'm gone. Black screen.
Hello? Are you there?
But there's great communication skills role modeled because I stayed, even though I'm getting darker, and Alec picked up my cues because every so often Papa went like, I should put it.
Well, it was that, or you're doing that little dance that toddlers do when they need to go to the bathroom. But, I'm suspecting it's the light issue. Erica, go on.
I don't know. I don't really have much to offer different than what we're all saying here, but I'm going to go rewind a little bit. This is totally off topic, but when Brett was talking about the schools, he used a specific word, and it struck me how, we're there to erupt this in our students, right? And it gave me such a visual of like an explosion of knowledge that we want to put onto our students, those of us that are teachers. I just really liked the use of that word. That's really it. But I think, and we're talking about role modeling, and we're talking about we could sit here and have these conversations all day long, and we know that, right? We communicate well with each other. We do that, and we have thoughts and ideas and beliefs about certain things, and we're passionate more, about all of these things together. And role modeling, yes. And I'm more curious about each of us is an individual, and we're humans and are existing in our own lives once this camera goes down, right? So how are we applying this to our lives? Are we really sticking to this? Are we really listening intently to the people closest to us and nearest to us? Are we practicing these communication skills so that it just becomes a way of living? It just becomes a way of being, right? Where you don't have to put much thought into it. It just is the way that I exist. So I'm just offering that out to us because we all know that conceptualizing and talking can only go so far. And this is offering to whoever our subscribers are and whatever the algorithms are. And I don't spend time with that because I can't, I just don't understand any of that. But what is our lived experience? How are we showing up to the people in our lives outside of here is where the real impact happens, I believe. That's all I have to say.
And that's an important question. I wonder, is this the mic drop?
I think it could be because, you know, we're in an awkward situation. Gabby has become a voice from the gloom. My hearing aid battery's just run out, so I really can't listen to you anymore. Do we act? Do we have that courage to act from apathy to actually move us? There is action we could take, and we're going to, or do we just sit here like lemons and model darkness and deafness to our millions of listeners?
I'm gonna vote for the let's take action and be courageous and saying goodbye, everybody, because I'm going to dwell in huge amount of resentment knowing you don't hear a goddamn thing I'm saying, and I don't know who I'm talking to, so I can't. And I don't need any more help in the resentment quadrant. Okay, so let's just carry on.
You're being very loud about putting this forward. You're causing me some agitation. Okay, I think we'll probably take that as our cue to say goodbye, listeners.
I'll look forward to seeing
We will
comments
see you soon.
in the chat.
Talk to us in the chat. I don't like your tone.
We're gonna start to get abusive. Like, listen, fuckos, if you
We're
want
still recording, lads. You're after.